The second franchise to enter the Indoor Football League this season from the NAL, the San Antonio Gunslingers are hoping to make a ruckus in their very first year in the league. The question is, with a lot of talent standing in their way in the Western Conference, do they have what it takes to emerge and earn a playoff spot? Let's jump in the alley and find out. So before we get into the history here, the very, very brief history of the San Antonio Gunslingers, I do just want to say one thing. Just like with the Jacksonville Sharks, I do feel like I might not do this team as much justice as I would like. If you are a fan of the San Antonio Gunslingers, please get at me. If you've been with them since day one, please let me know. I mean, I'm trying to be as accurate as I can with whatever stats I can get. The NAL website is kind of bunk when it comes to that. So, yeah, just please get at me. Let me know what I've done right, what I've done wrong. And with that, let's go into the history of the San Antonio Gunslingers. Okay, so as usual, history tab's going to pop up here, and San Antonio is one of the newer teams, not just obviously in the Indoor Football League, but in general. We'll talk about their last 5 years, and actually less than that, but let's go ahead and talk about a little bit of the San Antonio Gunslingers. Moving on. I'm tripping over my words already. We're not even like 5 minutes in. Located in San Antonio, Texas, head coach Tom Menas. Arena, the Freeman Coliseum, with a capacity of 9,800 people. 0 championships to their name right now, and last year they went 8-4, good enough for the number 3 seed in the NAL. So, this is what I was going to talk about, and I've said it in the Quad City preview as well. A lot of teams in the Indoor Football League have only been around for a little while, which is just insane to think about. You know, when I think about like those couple of seasons with the Danger, when I first got into them, some of those teams have been around for a while. I mean, obviously Green Bay, Sioux Falls, and then Arizona comes in. Iowa's been around for a while. But then you start seeing teams like Vegas, Tulsa, San Antonio, San Diego, Bay Area. Like, some of these teams have only been around 4 or 5, even less than that, you know. So San Antonio's no different here. And in the last 5 years, it's actually only 3. They went 12-12 in the National Arena League last season, 8-4, losing in the semifinals to Carolina. 2022, 4-8, so flip-flop record, did not qualify for the playoffs. And then in 2021, I couldn't find the stats. They were in the American Arena League, the AAL. I saw that they lost in the semifinals to North Texas. I couldn't find their record at all. If you know the record, like I said, if you're a San Antonio fan since day one, or if you just know it, I couldn't find it. I searched high and low. I saw that they won the Western Division or something like that. I couldn't find the record. No way I could find it. So, like I said, go ahead and let me know in the comments or over, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. If you know it, cool, fill me in. But with that being said, they look hungry to prove themselves. They didn't join the Indoor Football League to be a doormat. 8-4 last season. They do return a couple of players, a couple big players, and we'll talk about that obviously later on. But they don't just join the Indoor Football League in order to just lay down. They are here to try and make an impact. They are here to make a difference in the league, and they're here to try and win championships. Whether or not that comes to fruition, that's up for the other teams to decide too. So with that, let's go check out their history and see if those other teams have their own say. Okay, so as the history tab pops up here, what do we all say? The schedule's tough. It's tough. I mean it though. I know that they're brand new to the league. I know that they're playing in the Western Conference, where it's going to be a bloodbath. I think it's going to be a bloodbath, especially since, in my opinion, other people have different opinions, and that's fine. My opinion, I think there's 2 teams that pretty much have playoff spots locked up, and I think the other 2 are up for grabs. And I think everyone is in contention for those final 2 spots. There's 8 teams. I think 2 are locked up. The other 6 teams are going to battle for those 2 spots. So it's going to be fun. They do play some teams in the East. They play Massachusetts home and home there towards the end of the season. They play Frisco 3 times, and then they have a home game in the middle of the season against Tulsa. I know I go all around the place, but they do play Eastern Conference teams. They play 6 games from Eastern teams. So that's good kind of for their, conference percentage, but they do miss Arizona except for the finale, and they get them at home. So we'll see what that is. But again, Arizona comes off a bye week, so they could be a little refreshed on that. The toughest part for me is they start with 2 bye weeks. That extra bye week at the start of the season is good. I mean, you get to see a couple of teams play 2 games. You get to really take in the league and see how teams are doing. If there's players that are released, you could pick them up. If there's, teams that aren't doing so hot, you might be able to catch them or really scout them, whatever you need to do. So it does help. On the flip side, though, you don't have that extra bye week. And like I said that in, I think, the Quad City. Yeah, I said in the Quad City preview last night. Having that extra bye week later in the season can help with people recovering from injuries or, getting, obviously people getting off IR. It's kind of the same thing, but if you're only banged up for a week, I'm rambling. I apologize. Anyway, having that extra bye week can really help towards the end of the season. If it's spaced out, I get it. It's arena availability, how the schedule is drawn out. You have to play how you play it, but it just kind of sucks having back-to-back bye weeks. So, playing teams in the West, you got home and home against Duke City. You only play Vegas once. Is it 3 times for Northern Arizona? 2 times for Northern Arizona. Play San Diego once. You play Bay Area once. And you have a home and home against Tucson. So, overall, that's not a bad Western Conference schedule, seeing as you don't have home and homes against Arizona. But again, the Eastern draw is not much better. You play Frisco 3 times. They have the former MVP. Massachusetts is going to be loaded. They are loaded again this year. So they didn't get that great of a draw on the Eastern teams. You end the season with Arizona, who could be fighting for the number 1 seed like they were last year against Bay Area. Obviously, Bay Area is not going to be a pushover before their bye week. Vegas looks to be improved. Tucson looks to be improved. San Diego, I know I said early on I'm a little bullish on them, but the more I talk about it, might have cooled off a little bit. Opinions can change. But, yeah, like I said, it looks to be a tough schedule. Could they make the playoffs? I could see them kind of in that Green Bay, sneak into the 4th seed if the schedule goes right and they're able to pull some upsets and stuff like that. But ultimately, it might be a nice welcome to the league schedule. I don't expect them to go winless. I don't expect them to go undefeated. I think they're either going to maybe go a little above 500 or maybe a little below. I know I've said that for like the last 2 or 3 teams. I know. But at the same time, I don't really know this team. That's just the cold hard truth. I don't know their tendencies. It's a brand new league, brand new strategies, brand new everything. And we'll talk about the players here in one quick second, but that's the issue. There's no Iron Man. It's good and it's bad. It's good because, you don't have to play both sides of the ball, which, hey, if you're a wide receiver playing defensive back, you just get to pick one. On the other hand, that means that you have more players to break in, which means more chances to be a, dare I say, bust or someone that doesn't pan out or whatever, so it's tough, especially going up against experienced teams that have won championships in Massachusetts, Arizona, Bay Area, Northern Arizona. So it's going to be a very tough schedule. It is a shame, though. I will say this. It is a shame they don't get to play Jacksonville. Both teams come over. They played each other last season, and they don't get to play each other this season. It kind of sucks. You get the rivalry renewed with Mass and Jacksonville, but can't schedule these guys? Come on now. I get it. But anyway, that being said, let's go check out the players and see how they're going to fare. Okay, so players tab popping up here, and the big obvious one we have to talk about for the San Antonio Gunslingers is Sam Castronova. He comes in from Jacksonville, where he won the championship last year with them. 2,824 passing yards, 65 passing touchdowns, 184 rushing yards, 13 rushing touchdowns. NAL MVP, all NAL offense. I said all this during the Jacksonville key losses portion. I think he's going to come in here and kind of be a Nate Davis-esque style quarterback. Nate Davis was chucking the ball all over the place when he was at Duke City, and I believe he has set the passing touchdowns record at one point for the most passing touchdowns in a season. So can Castronova duplicate that? I don't know. It's going to be tough to adapt from the arena rules where you're playing both sides of the ball to you kind of only have specialized positions, just like the outdoor game. The defensive backs play defensive back, and that's it. If you don't have a run game here, and I know San Antonio will have running backs, they should be able to adapt, but if you shut down this passing game, how good is this running game going to be? It remains to be seen. Obviously, we'll see it when they hit the field, but that's going to be my key question. Can this running game get going? You've proven you have a passer. We'll talk about that wide receiver underneath him in 1 second, but you should have a really, really good passing game. Can you offset that with a good running game too in order to make sure that your offense is balanced? But let's talk about that wide receiver really quick. You got Callie Rashad, 81 receptions, 978 receiving yards, 12 receiving touchdowns, and 824 kick return yards. I don't know if that's true Iron Man, but he was kick returner and wide receiver, it seems, for San Antonio. Again, I just want to preface this. I tried to watch some San Antonio games this last weekend along with Jacksonville. It's just rough. It's rough to watch these arena rules. It just looks... It's completely different than what I'm used to. I'm not a fan. There's a reason why I switched. But regardless, back to this. He was good from what I've seen. He was kind of that go-to guy for San Antonio, at least in the passing game. And nice to have him back. I know they bring back a couple of other guys that they had last season. So hopefully anyone on that San Antonio team from last year that is signed to this year can make that adaptation. I think I said earlier, being able to just have one specific position that you focus on, and I know some might be kick returner as well, but you're not playing offense and defensive line. You're not a wide receiver, and then you have to go play the jack linebacker. You're not a wide receiver playing defensive back or whatever. Like, you're just that one position. So I think that could actually help some of these guys when it comes to that. Speaking of Iron Man, let's talk about another signing, fullback linebacker Zach Brown. Is he going to be a true Iron Man for this team? I don't know. They signed him from Carolina. He had 205 rushing yards with 11 rushing touchdowns. Now again, in the Arena League, in the National Arena League, running the ball is kind of rare. So those 205 rushing yards, not all of that is obviously goal line, but to me it would seem like 11 rushing touchdowns is probably some very short yardage situations, and then they would kind of just sneak in a rushing attempt every once in a while to kind of get him those yards. That's 205 rushing yards for an entire season. It's not a lot. So he was still able to rush the ball. He got 11 rushing touchdowns, but like I said, I like to think that was probably stuff from inside the 5-yard line. So 10 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 1 pass breakup, and 1 blocked kick. Good enough for the 2023 All-NAL offense Ironman. Like I said, he played both sides of the ball. I don't know if that's good. I don't know if 10 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 1 pass breakup, and 1 blocked kick is good. Is he going to play both sides of the ball here? I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. If they specialize him as that running back, hopefully he can be that running back that can supplant the passing game, like I was talking about earlier. If he's linebacker, I expect those tackle stats and sack stats and everything like that to be pumped way up this year, especially since you really only play with one linebacker. So regardless of where he plays, I think he can fit in pretty well with either side of the ball. He's kind of proven it a little bit. So like I said, I think being able to have just one specific position you're focused at, I think Zach Brown could actually prosper a little bit there. But let's go ahead and talk about the key losses here, and then we'll get out of here with our final thoughts. Okie dokie. Key losses. Starting with quarterback Arvell Nelson. Now, I remember him from the Arena Football League, and I remember him as the Cleveland Gladiators quarterback. Well, linebacker turned quarterback, and at one point he didn't win the championship, but he took Cleveland to the championship game. I don't remember who they beat, or who beat them, excuse me, but God, he's been around for a while. I remember him also at like the Spokane Shock back in the day too. So, guy has been around for a long time, over a decade now, man. So, it's kind of cool to reminisce on some of these guys. But hey, Arvell Nelson, he's not coming back. They obviously have their starting quarterback, but 2,420 yards, 41 passing touchdowns, 210 rushing yards, and 19 rushing touchdowns. So, stats are kind of up there with Castronova. Touchdowns are, way off from his. His rushing touchdowns are more. He's kind of a big bruising guy. I don't know if he still has that same like bruising power as the time's gone on, but hey, yeah, it's just nice. Like I said, it's nice to reminisce about this guy. And it sucks that he's not going to either be back or maybe he's going back to the NAL or doing something different. But yeah, it's kind of a blast from the past. When I looked up that name and went, oh my God, I thought that was the guy, and it was. But hey, kudos to you, man. You took him to 8-4 last year, losing in the semifinals. Awesome. Kudos to wherever you go, man. Second up on the list, wide receiver linebacker Philip Barnett. I just saw today he signed with an Arena Football team. 73 receptions, 689 receiving yards, 13 receiving touchdowns, 17 tackles, 1 fumble recovery, 1 pass breakup, and 2 kick return touchdowns. Now, I didn't put the yardage there because I think he only had 18 kick return yards. So that leads me to believe that those were 2 onside kicks. He only had 2 recoveries. 2 onside kicks. He returned both of them for touchdowns, which is kind of cool. Granted, it was only like 10 yards each or something, but hey, he was more wide receiver than linebacker here. He was the second leading receiver from what I saw behind Rashad. So it's going to suck to see him go, but hey, he's going to go play Iron Man back in the Arena Football League. So kudos to him. And I think San Antonio has some guys coming through with like Vincent Gregory and Fabian Guerrera, hope I pronounced that right, from the Indoor Football League to kind of help them, transition into an IFL team. So Guerrera played for Massachusetts. He's been all over the place. Vincent Gregory played for Duke City last year. So again, they do have some talent there on that offensive side of the ball. Last but not least, defensive lineman Justin Alexandre. You tell me. I'm going to go with Alexandre because that's how I see it. 20 tackles, 8 tackles for a loss, 8 sacks, 1 forced fumble. He is also off to the Arena Football League. He's staying and doing the arena rules, so everyone has their thing. I couldn't really find much else on this guy. I just saw that he signed with an Arena Football team, and he had some decent stats. When I saw some of the indoor football players that San Antonio had signed, someone like a Colby Wyatt or a Tristan Vance, those guys only played like a couple of games this year. They kind of came on, or like in Tristan Vance's case, he got injured early on for Arizona. Colby Wyatt came in after Jason Serta got injured for Duke City. So it's like they have some talent there. If those guys can come in and play a full season, I think they're going to be good. So I don't necessarily think Justin Alexandre is going to be a key loss, but 20 tackles, 8 tackles for a loss. I don't know if he played both sides of the ball, but those stats don't look too promising. So that being said, I think San Antonio actually might be better off without him. If they can bring guys in to actually help that defensive line and actually solidify it. Not saying he didn't solidify it. Not saying Justin Alexandre didn't solidify it. But what I'm saying is to adapt to the indoor football game, having some of those guys that either have the experience or whatever strategy you're putting out there, I think could actually be better than having to, have Alexandre there or something along those lines. That's just my opinion. I think there might be better talent out there. He's still a key loss. He did contribute to them last year, but compared to going to the Indoor Football League, I'd almost put my money on someone else. But that's who I picked, so I got to go with it. So those are the key losses. I think every one of those guys, while I do have as a key loss, they, like I said, they all contributed last year, but I think all of those kind of have been replaced, or they can find replacements in the league. And I think San Antonio can adapt pretty well. They might not be, well, I'll save that for final thoughts, but I think they can adapt well. They can turn into a winner pretty quickly. So let's go, share those final thoughts and we'll get out of here. Okay, so final thoughts here for the San Antonio Gunslingers. I think this team has the talent to make the playoffs. I don't think their schedule is very forgiving, however. Like I said, you play 3 times against Frisco. It's nice to have that in-state rivalry. You play Massachusetts home and home. You play Arizona. You play Bay Area. I think the talent's there. I do. And if you can get through that schedule, I think you deserve a playoff spot. I just don't know if they can get through that schedule. New team, adapting to new rules with different players and things along those lines. I find it a little tough. However, if they do, they could make some noise. I'll be honest with you. They could make some noise. I just have a tough time seeing it. I do. I feel like if I put this team in the playoffs or said that they're going to make the playoffs, I also feel like I should probably put Northern Arizona in. And I have Northern Arizona on the fringe. So by that regard, I have to put this team on the fringe as well. I think they might be just a step below Northern Arizona in my opinion. And right now, like I said, I've got Northern Arizona kind of that 4 seed, kind of that 3 seed. I don't know if I want to lock them up for the playoffs yet. I know we still haven't talked about, 3 other teams? Yeah, 3 other teams in the West, too, that could also make some noise. Like I've said, I think the West is going to be a bloodbath for 2 playoff spots. And that's not guaranteeing Arizona or Bay Area makes seeds 1 and 2. I just think that there's 2 playoff spots open regardless of seeding that 6 other teams are going to be battling for. So San Antonio is going to obviously be one of them. That schedule to me just looks like, hey, welcome to the league, man. Enjoy next season when you have a chance to make the playoffs. But with that, that is the 2024 preview of the San Antonio Gunslingers. Very, very new team compared to Iowa, Arizona, things along those lines. So very, very new, still pretty raw, and they've already been in their 3rd league starting this year. So kind of crazy to think how that goes, but hey, I'm excited to see them play. I can't wait for that Monday night opener at San Diego. They get to play Nate Davis to start the season, which is going to be cool. But with that, guys, I'm going to sign off here. Typical stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, share, whatever you want to do. I appreciate it. I say it every video. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the views. I appreciate everything you guys do. It makes doing this all worth it. I'm having a blast doing these. I hope you guys enjoy watching these as much as I enjoy making them. By the time you watch this, we will be down to single-digit days until the start of the season. 9 days. That is awesome. I am excited. Tomorrow, San Diego. I know I've talked about them in previous videos. My opinion might have changed a little bit on them. I was pretty high on them like a week or so ago. We'll talk about them tomorrow. Needless to say, I'm not going to get into it. This is San Antonio's time. But yeah, like I said, typical stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Do whatever you guys want to do. I like to have discussions. It's nice to have comments and actually talk about this stuff. With that, I'm going to sign off here, guys. So, San Diego tomorrow. Let's get after it. 9 days. 9 days, 5 teams left, and we get to kick off the indoor football season. So, that being said, guys, see ya.